Well, with us right now is our CEO and General Manager, Brad Hudson. Brad, good to finally have you on.
Well, I know. I've looked forward to this opportunity. I feel out-tied today, you know.
Well, we'll get you a bow tie one day.
All right, good.
All right. Today what we're going to focus on with you is been talked about a lot in the meetings, and we're going to talk about Dwelling Live and what that is and the new app associated with it. If we have time, we're going to talk about, I know over the past year, one of your priorities is taking the Village website and making it more user-friendly. So we're going to talk about that, and then we'll get into security and the gates. So let's first talk about Dwelling Live. And for those people who maybe have not watched a lot of the meetings, maybe you can kind of give us a quick overview and about the app that's out for it.
Well, last summer, about 14,000 of our residents got the RFID stickers placed on their car, which allows them to access gates 5 and 6 through the resident lanes. Very successful.
Yeah.
During that process, I'm a pretty sneaky guy, we actually got everybody's email address, all their text numbers, all that embedded into our system. So now we have the capability to reach out to residents very directly. And I did that a week ago, last Monday, with an opportunity to sign into our Dwelling Live mobile and desktop application, which allows them from their home, from their car, from the grocery store, from one of our fitness centers to sign in their guests and let them through the gates. And so it was very exciting. We had 500 residents have so far taken advantage of the mobile Dwelling Live application. We're very excited about that. Our goal is to have 2,000 residents use that system to access the gates. Now, right now, if you don't live in gates 5 and 6, it may not seem to be too big of a deal, but it's our goal, and I certainly plan to recommend to the board that they do at least probably 8 more gates next year.
Yeah.
And so that will basically do all the residential gates except for 11 and 14, which we'll do later. But the rest of the residential gates will be secured with Dwelling Live, with the automatic gates, just like we have on 5 and 6. And by accessing this mobile applications, residents can control their own services. They don't need to call in, and many of them probably don't know, but when you call that number, particularly after hours, it goes to a gate ambassador who may be busy with a guest coming in.
Exactly.
And so it'll bounce to another gate and another gate, and it's not a very efficient system. Ultimately, we'll eliminate that system altogether, and all of those calls will go to the call center. Right now, the only calls that go to the call center are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Okay.
But ultimately, all calls will go to the call center. But nonetheless, it'll still be much more efficient to use the mobile application, control your own destiny, and receive a text or an email when your guests arrive, so you know they're here and you can await them. So there's so many efficiencies that are there. I look forward to residents taking advantage of that.
Now, people who are watching are going to go both Apple and Android devices.
Yes, it'll do them all.
It'll do them all. I don't know about does anybody still have a Windows phone? I don't know.
I don't know. I doubt it.
You know, I can tell you, I drive by Gate 5 to and from work every day, and I have noticed you see far less of a lineup there than you used to. And it's really very noticeable. The gate always seems like people are going through much more smoothly, and compared to a year or so ago, it's really amazing. But I really have noticed that.
No, it's much better, and part of that is the RFID and the gate arm, but really it's the technology behind that makes the printing and the development of passes much more efficient. And so we've actually reduced the staffing at both of those gates. Instead of having 2 gate ambassadors on at all times, it's only 1. And good. Still, you see no lines.
Yeah.
It's a very efficient system. Over the long haul, you'll probably see that trend continue as we continue to implement this technology at other gates.
Okay, and you folks will look at in line what gates are needed most until you get to all of them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know gate 3 is probably one of the priorities, right?
Yes, I don't think, we're going to recommend for next year 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
And whether that's a pretty big number,
Yeah.
budgetarily, whether they want to do that many or pare it back and maybe do it over 2 years, that's up to the board to decide. But we think it's a high priority. We see the benefits in terms of security in gates 5 and 6, and we want to extend that blanket of security to the rest of our community as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I think I told Brad that we have friends that live in a gated community near us, and they have a very similar system, might be the exact same one, and it's so much more efficient when you go to visit them for a guest.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. Speaking of online things, I know one of your priorities, I think probably within the first month that you were here, you were talking about the inefficiencies of our website, and you had talked about that in areas where you were, I think Sacramento, how you went in along with your staff at the time and revamped the website, because as we all know, going to a website online, especially on a device, if you can't find where you need to go in a very short amount of time, in seconds sometimes, people get frustrated and they literally figuratively walk away. Am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Well, our website is very primitive.
Yeah.
It contains a lot of documents. I recall when I was applying for a job here, I went on our website, as everyone does when
Yeah.
they're applying for a job, and I found some wonderful information. And then a couple days later, I tried to come back and refine that information. I was unable to do so. I'd just gotten lucky.
Yeah.
And so we want to eliminate those kinds of experiences for residents and guests who want information on our website, make it efficient, make it easy to use, and most importantly, make it transactional. You should be able to reserve a room through recreation.
Yeah,
you should
exactly.
be able to sign your guests in through Dwelling Live. You should be able to pay a bill, get a permit, all those sorts of things. If a resident chooses, they should be able to do that through our website. And so that's our goal. Now, the backbone technology infrastructure in the village a year ago was very, very primitive.
Exactly.
We were operating on outdated software, 10, 15-year-old hardware configurations. We've spent the last year putting all that in order. That's why we can hook something like Dwelling Live up now. We couldn't have done that a year ago.
Exactly.
The system would not
Yeah.
take it. And that's why we'll be able to, in the future, put a very up-to-date, tech-savvy, transactional website out there for our residents to use, because we have the capability to do that. To connect all of our buildings through an energy management system so they can be managed remotely in terms of the temperatures and when they're in use and when they're not in use, to save the residents money and to make it more comfortable when they're renting a clubhouse. All those technologies require a solid backbone of
Right.
tech infrastructure. We have that now.
Yeah, and this is why people might have said, well, he talked about this over a year ago. Why isn't that new website in place? Well,
That's why.
You have to put the infrastructure there first.
Exactly.
You can't connect to something if it's not ready to do so.
I want to touch on something that President Parker talked about as well, which is our internet service. We have a very similar situation there where we designed an internet service for maybe 1,000 customers 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, now on that same system, we've got 10,000 customers. Guess what?
Right.
It's a little slow.
Yes.
And so we're making some modest investments that are going to at least double the bandwidth to every resident in here at no cost. We're going to double your
that's
bandwidth,
fantastic.
no cost. It may actually be more than that, but I'm committing to the doubling, okay?
Okay, all right.
If I do less than that, you can hold me accountable, but I think we'll do more. I'm very excited about that, and it's a very modest investment to make that happen. Part of it will be many of our residents will need to have new modems, and we're working on an arrangement where we can upgrade those at little or no cost to residents as well.
All right.
So we're very excited about that.
That's good. Yeah, fantastic. And in a sense, all this you just talked about ties into security, and that is, I think you've said this as many board directors over the years, it's really the number one issue for a lot of people who live here. They want to feel safe, they want to feel secure. Quite often we'll have the security director, Tim Moy, on, and as secure as this community is, you still got to be savvy out there, and you want to make it better, as does Tim and everyone else, right?
Well, yes, it is our number one issue. It doesn't really do much good to have world-class amenities if residents are afraid to leave their home to use them. And so, not that we're anywhere near that, but we don't want to even start talking that way.
Yeah.
And so, the gate access and security there is critical. And then there's the piece behind that of knowing who's coming into our community, who wants to be an occupant or a caregiver. The boards are putting a lot of emphasis on knowing who is here. So if you want to be a caregiver or you want to be a resident here but maybe not a member, we're going to check you out. We want to know who you are, why you're here, do you have a criminal background? Those are the sorts of things that we're engaging in. And quite frankly, I started this ball rolling right after I got here by requiring all of our employees to go through criminal background checks as well. So you cannot be hired here without a criminal background check. And so we want to know, as an employee, that you're going to be sensitive to our residents and treat them right and not have ill intent within you. And so we are vetting almost everyone who comes here as either an occupant, a lessee, a future purchaser. We want to know who you are, why you're here, and that you're going to behave yourself once you get here. And if you don't, we have a very strong compliance initiative that's going on right now, and I'll leave you with this one stat. In 2015, we processed around 1,500, 1,600 compliance cases. 2016, approaching 4,000.
Wow.
So the boards are very serious about enforcing our rules, about making sure that those who want to live here, visit here, work here, follow our rules, and if they don't, we're going to come after the member. Because it's their responsibility ultimately. And so we've aggressively done that. We're going to continue to do it. And we hope our residents appreciate how seriously we take their safety and security.
Very good. Brad, good to see you.
Thank you.
Hope
Thanks for having me.
Hope you get back on here again.
Anytime.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And we will be right back.